Is there a value in becoming a member of a repossession association? Luckily, the answer to this is yes. It was determined over 100 years ago, and on this show, with the help of the American Recovery Association, Allied Finance Adjusters, Eagle Group 20, and CURepossession.com, we're going to learn more about when, why, how, and what's in it for you. Please help me welcome Kevin Armstrong, CURepossession.com, Vaughn Clemmons, President, ARA, George Badeen, past President of AFA, and Ron Brown, Founder and Facilitator of Eagle Group 20. Please say hello, make new friends, and learn from the best on ATI Auto Business. What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business, Automotive Ecosystem, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Let's get started with some top industry news and headlines that include AI Zoom deepfake fraud, Audi EV dealership fire, and how much are Carvana profits? At the quarter hour, we've got Kevin Armstrong of CU Repossession. He's going to talk to us about history of repossession. He wrote a book. Here, you got to see Repo Blood. You can Google it right now, get a copy. We're going to be talking about his book, and it's really a very good book, and he's going to be talking about excerpts from his book. He's got a lot to cover. And then at the half hour, we're going to bring in Vaughn and George and Ron, ARA, AFA, Eagle Group 20. It's kind of historic what's happening here tonight, so please do help me, wish them a warm welcome and give them the floor. And you can jump in the live chat and you can say hello. Oh, look at that live chat. Hello, YouTube. Hello, LinkedIn. What is going on? It's show 365 in a row on a Tuesday night on ATI's Automotive Ecosystem. And I say, know your ecosystem. The other verticals they touch, and we got to learn how we can build bridges to each other: new, used, auction, logistics, remarketing, repo, recon, compliance, tech, more. We've got Vaughn on the show tonight, ARA, American Recovery Association. George Badeen is with us of Allied Finance Adjusters. Ron Brown of Eagle Group 20, and introducing them, Kevin Armstrong, CURepossession.com. You can also go there now. Feel free to do that. Surf around. Get the book, Repo Blood, A Century of Auto Repossession History by Kevin Armstrong. And in it, so much fascinating history and really gives you a glimpse into what was happening. And it goes way back. I mean, post-Civil War. And there are groups and these photos, as Kevin was saying, who are these people? What are they thinking? How, can I identify with some of them? What's it like to be in the room? It's so great. And this is historic too, in that AFA and ARA unite, news happening. So we're going to learn more about that. That's George Badeen and Vaughn Clemmons. And then, there's more folks involved in the group. This touches a lot of people. So thank you so much for joining me on ATI's Ecosystem Neutral Zone. And you know what? We want your beef. ATI wants your beef. And on Thursdays on Industry Logistics, we share that beef. So please do send it in. You can go to ATIAutobusiness.com. You can email me, autotransportintel@gmail.com. You can throw it in the live chat. Is that the right live chat? Okay. That's fine. This program may contain opinions, actual news, upsetting truth. You are watching ATI, and like at your own risk. I won't tell anyone you tuned in. Don't worry about it. We'll keep it a secret between us. We will be at Used Car Week. Lenders moving repo cars. Old habits die hard. If you're sensing a tone, you got that right. This is different. It's not just happy slogans and what everybody wants to hear, and that people don't tune into that stuff when they're on their internet anyways. What they want is what's really happening. How do people really feel? How do real people react? We do that on Tuesdays. We had ClearPath TMS, the team behind the screen. That was Tuesday night. If you missed it, check that out. On Thursdays, Industry Logistics, you can share what's on your mind. We had Auto Hauler Exchange talk about how you can use... Did you know that on Auto Hauler Exchange, you could go around the broker and just carriers can work direct with shippers? Get out of here. Yeah, really, we talked about that too. And this Thursday, we are going to talk about fraud. Red flags in car shipping scams, MC numbers wrong, contact info's wrong, last minute changes. So here we go. Let's do some news. Great. We're almost on time. So AI Zoom deepfake fraud shocks the real estate industry. Now, it could be any industry. Banking, automotive, healthcare. Here's what you want to watch out for. So Margaret Pritchard, an elderly woman with dementia, vanished without a trace in 2018, leaving her family in California with unanswered questions. And they didn't realize that 5 years later, 3,000 miles away in Florida, she would reappear in an AI scam. So last week's representative from Florida Title and Trust logged into what they thought was a routine Zoom call to verify the identity of a woman named Margaret selling her property and just doing their due diligence. And instead of meeting with Margaret McCartney, the person on the side of the Zoom used Margaret Pritchard's face. The woman claimed to be the owner and seller of a vacant property, but there were red flags. And for starters, she supplied an out-of-state license. Okay, this should be a Florida license. It's West Virginia. I'm not sure if that looks right. Not convinced the license was real. The title company wanted video. She's like saying, I'm hard of hearing, I can't do that. It made the title company even more suspicious. Days later, Margaret relented and said, oh, hey, I'm ready. Good morning. I'm available on Zoom. I got it figured out. So right away, though, the president of the Florida Bank and Trust felt like this isn't a real person we're on Zoom with. Clearly, Margaret was using a face swapping app. She's rigid, no movement. When asked to raise her right hand, she didn't. And they're thinking that they used expression camera type software, which allows a person to take a picture off the internet, swap their face out on Zoom, and use it on a video call. It's used very extremely popular with romance scammers, like the Yahoo boys out of Nigeria, as you can see there. So beware. Now you know. Hey, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America lose $5 billion in a push to offload rotten debt as credit card delinquencies surge. Whoa. U.S. banks increasingly offloading billions of dollars of bad debt they've officially given up on collecting. Its new quarterly banking profit report, FDIC, says U.S. banks reported $21.3 billion in net charge-offs in the second quarter of the year, due to large credit card delinquencies and sour commercial real estate loans. Whoa. That's the highest quarterly net charge-off since second quarter 2013, 20 basis points higher than the same period last year. JP Morgan Chase charged off $2.2 billion in Q2. That's up. Wells Fargo charged off $1.3 billion. That's up. Bank of America charge-offs $1.5 billion. That's up. Everybody's charge-offs are up. Wow. Brand new Audi E-Tron GT catches fire at the dealership. I'm sorry to say, I'm gonna keep reporting it. I don't have an axe to grind other than it's called the news, and there is so much pro EV. Well, here's some neg information. A brand new Audi E-Tron GT caught fire while being up on a lift in a dealership. Can you imagine? And the position of the car made the mission difficult for firefighters. Now the EV is a write-off, or, whatever, be resold. EV fire risk has been plagued by controversy, with the number of battery-powered vehicles burned to a crisp. Special blankets to suppress the fire, huge water tanks for the cars to be submerged. Finding a car engulfed by fire while on a lift 6 feet above the floor is, not great. Firefighters managed to eventually put out the fire. Considering they had to deal with a battery-powered vehicle, they knew that thermal runaway may cause the reignition of the battery pack. Car reignited a couple of times while it was being moved out of the building. Luckily, those did not take the firefighters by surprise, as they expected the lithium ion. They expected the battery to. Why wouldn't it reignite? Took a lot of firefighters and a lot of water to keep the blaze under control afterward they offloaded it on a flatbed and escorted it to a salvage yard. Not a big deal. Yeah, nothing to see here. Ford adds karaoke to pass the time while charging and road tripping. If you're driving alone, you have to be parked to use it and sing, I suppose. Software update to the 2024 F-150 Lightning includes a version of the Stingray karaoke app. And the passenger can scan a QR code. Great idea, actually. Because you're gonna definitely need to sweeten the pot on selling an EV. There, I said it. And how much profit do Carvana and CarMax's make per car? All right, this was shared. I'm just reporting. This was shared and then shared again. Carvana's profit calculation: purchase price $9,000, fees, transport, reconditioning, total costs $10,590 on this car. All right, if Carvana sells it at Kelley Blue Book, the profit should be $1,000. But Carvana's average profit reported is over $6,000. So this suggests either they sell above KBB, like way above, manage costs lower, like way lower, or bundle services that increase overall revenue per sale that still can't be calculated fully. Given the same cost, if CarMax sells a KBB, their profit be $1,000, the same. But CarMax, they report average profit of just over $2,000. Analysis, pricing strategy: Carvana might be pricing way more competitively. Operational efficiency means they have way more operational efficiency. And their market position, maybe people just really will spend whatever because it's Carvana. I don't get it either. I seem to report on things I don't understand. I know it's not popular. That's why it's called ATI Auto Business. Okay. ARA and AFA unite for a historic collaboration for the repossession industry. This is pretty cool. This is the focus tonight. Both associations recognize the need to grow for unity. Common challenges ranging from regulatory changes to industry sustainability, ultimate goal to serve their members. If you spend any time on a conference call with folks talking about challenges just in repossession, you'll realize there are common challenges. There is a lot to cover. That's just one vertical. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. Before I do, I have realized something. I get a lot of phone calls. I've dedicated my life to media. So I am launching What Are You Talking About? This is What Are You Talking About? The chapter on company podcast advice. Okay. You got a website, blog, social media. Okay, great. It's a no-brainer. You're going to make a company podcast. But that's not a TV station. It's not a trade show. Don't harbor the competitive negativity. Don't stress yourself out over scheduling. Publishing once a month is fine. You already have a job. Listen, we all love movies and TV shows, but just because you just bought a new iPhone doesn't make you a film director. Hitch your wagon to an industry channel like ATI, where that's what I do every day. Free up your mind, free up your schedule. Plus, I can say things, share hard opinions, opposing truths. You can't do that. You've got clients. You got to shine a light on them, their stories, your service. It is self-promotion. That's okay. But this is an opportunity. It's not a competition. You have a service to sell. I'm dedicated to unbiased media. So release the burden of saying you're the industry's first great podcast. You're not. Who is? Listen, if I launched the industry's first new great SaaS, you could call me out on it. So focus on your company podcast, serve your company and your clients, and there's no need to worry. We're not doing the same thing. I'm here to help. So call me. There's that. All right, cool. It's like the no spin zone. You see O'Reilly back in the 90s with his no spin zone? ATI is where everyone learns more about how the automotive industry works. New, used, auction, logistics, remarketing, recon, compliance, and tech. I want everyone to understand each other. I want to help build bridges. I don't even ship cars. I move information. That's what I do. So get the podcast, sit back, enjoy, go to atiautobusiness.com, send me a net message, send us your beef. And in the meantime, get ready, because what we're going to do is we're going to learn a lot more about Repossession Association's history, of education and advocacy. Do me a favor, stick around. Right after this, we're going to be live with Kevin Armstrong. You aren't going to want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Transport Auto Quoter is by far the leading auto quoting software on the market, and the only auto quoter with a pro version that comes preset with accurate pricing for anywhere in the U.S. So you don't have to worry about it. The best part is that no change with your current software is needed. Just plug TAQ in and start booking jobs. Carriers can easily plug TAQ into their current websites and start making money right away. I bet you're wondering how we do this instantly and accurately 24/7. Well, constant analytics is the key. Our Price Watch team is constantly monitoring current market conditions, paying close attention to seasonal and quick-moving industry changes. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of time and data to maintain good pricing, time that most of us just don't have on a daily basis. So free yourself up. Using TAQ Pro is really a no-brainer. Save time and money, maximizing your leads and optimizing your online investments. You'll finally be able to sleep well at night knowing that TAQ is on the job selling for you 24/7. Never missing a potential job.
All right, we need to brainstorm for this commercial. How do we show our audience that we're the best auto transport platform in the industry?
Oh, we need to show them our dispatch manager. Optimizing routes has never been easier.
We should definitely show them our EDI management screen. Managing contracts is simple with ClearPath's EDI toolkit. Who doesn't want to work with the big manufacturers?
These are all great ideas, but we need to highlight what makes us special.
Sure, we can talk about all our awesome features, but the bottom line is we invest in every single one of our clients, giving them the power to scale up and increase their revenue.
That's perfect.
Auto Hauler Exchange has revolutionized the way vehicle haulers and vehicle shippers collaborate. The Exchange B2B marketplace connects vehicle haulers directly to shippers in a frictionless manner. The Exchange helps vehicle haulers maximize their capacity while eliminating empty miles. The Exchange is the first true B2B marketplace of its kind in the vehicle logistics industry. By connecting carriers and shippers directly, carriers can save time and choose which opportunities fit their needs each day. At the same time, shippers can rest assured that their vehicles are being moved by qualified, vetted carriers who fit their vetting program. The Auto Hauler Exchange has democratized the vehicle logistics industry by eliminating the middlemen and connecting shippers directly to available carriers.
Auto Hauler Exchange. Why does a broker get a percentage of every load you move when clearly you could be working directly with carriers? Go around the broker. Get faster car shipping. Visit autohaulerexchange.com. Links are in the live chat. Thank you so much for taking the time. We have an amazing show. I see that we have a great crowd tonight too. Repo always brings it out. Whoop, whoop. What do we have to say about that? All right, cool. Here we go. Please do help me wish a warm welcome to Kevin Armstrong of CU Repossession. Kevin, can you see me and hear me okay?
I see you, hear you fine, Jay.
Great. I can see you. I can hear you. We are live, and I just go to this camera again. I just want to say again, this is Repo Blood. This is Kevin's book, and we're going to be referencing it. Kevin, I guess, say hello.
Hello.
And then, perfect. And then, tell me about the book. I was leafing through it. You know, that's the thing about books. This is right. When do you sit down and read? But when you do, what a rich way to experience. I'm reading about post-Civil War, steam engine, maybe the first repossession. Take it away.
Well, again, without going right into the book and reading it verbatim, what had happened is just after the Civil War, a gentleman who worked on the railroads decided to create his own steam car, and he found somebody that wanted one. And so he set up an installment plan with him that he defaulted on, and so he had to go and repossess it. He obviously, these things didn't turn with a key and just suddenly start. You had to generate the steam, so it made a lot of noise. And the neighbors were rather upset, and somebody either went on a horse or ran down. They got the police, and the police came, and they literally chased him away with it. And that's again, the first known steam carriage auto repossession that I could find history of.
Mic check 1 2. I had courtesy mute. I'll tell you. Okay, here's a secret. I got caught on courtesy mute again. It happens like every show. I was trying to say hello in the live chat. We got like this awesome live chat going. It's really pretty cool. So here, I'm just going to give a shout out. I'm going to say hello because it is really, really neat. And you can hear me. You can hear me now, right? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got, all right, David Johns. What's going on, David Johns? Stephanie Finley is here. Lisa Hancock says hello. Vaughn Clemmons is in the live chat. Glad to be here. Thank you, Jay. Danny Pabone. Very excited to be here. Mark Rodeke, Superflow Systems, is here. Oh, Wayne Ray, who's been in the news lately, is here. Shane is with us. Shane, what's going on? Thanks for saying hello. Richard is here. Speedy Recovery in the house. Renee is here. Harding Brooks is here. Kimbrell75. We got Repo Ryan is here. Marcel Egley Sparks. What's going on, Marcel? Thanks for saying hello. And then that Mike is here. Mike from DFW. And let's see. Oh, Kahan is here. What's going on? And I think, Jeremy Cross is here. Wow. Aaron Schwope, what's going on? Thanks for saying hello. That is really, really neat. So, I just wanted to, thanks again for saying hello in the live chat. So Brad is here. I knew that, yeah. Please keep saying hello. Daniel's here too. Please keep saying hello. It's wonderful. So, the depth of this industry, is that 150 years?
Again, the professional repo industry goes back to probably about the late 1910s. Because again, the auto industry is what formed the repossession industry, and again, that came from lending, and that started with General Motors. They were the first to expand into auto lending on the installment program. Ford was later to come along. They were definitely against lending, but again, you start making loans, you're going to get defaults, and so what ended up happening is, by the end of the First World War, you had a bunch of out-of-work veterans, and they took at it. That in addition to what already existed beforehand, which was called the adjustment bureaus. And they existed way back into the mid-1800s. And when loans were made and defaults were made, the adjusters would go out and they'd make an adjustment and go visit somebody, take collateral, take the cash in the drawer, whatever. Basically form of a repossessor and a collector. And they would get paid a percentage of what was collected. Now, fast forward years later, and you end up with a specialist who does primarily auto loans. Now, those weren't the first collateralized loans. Singer's Sewing Machines was actually the first to do collateralized loans. And, running around taking women's sewing machines. Not quite as glamorous as a car, but, was what it was.
And which begs the question, so that means repossession of livestock? I mean, whatever, any significant asset.
Yeah, you hit that on the head. I mean, you can go back to Babylonian time, the ancient Sumerians. They were repossessing everything and anything. I mean, the word repossession, it's synonymous with lending. And, lending has always been looked at with an unfavorable eye, but it's always been a natural part of commerce. And so, you take lending out of an economy and you slow it down dramatically. And that's what fired up the auto industry. If they had not lended, most people would not have been able to afford cars in their lifetimes.
I'm going to say something totally off key, and that is that, I was watching like a nature show, and they talk about decomposers, decomposition, mushrooms, and all that stuff, and fungi as part of the ecosystem. It's just not the part we focus on. We focus on more of the life side. Is this the decomposer side of automotive?
Yeah. You hit that pretty much on the head, because, again, after it gets repossessed, it gets shipped off to the auction. And, again, there's other players that move on that, transporters, the auctions, the detailers, all these jobs are created from it. That vehicle then goes to the auction. A dealer buys it, puts it on his lot, rinse, wash, repeat. It just goes on and on and on.
Right.
You know,
Without that part of the cycle, you can't have new life.
no, exactly. It's very natural. You know, as the auto industry grew, so did the repossession industry. And, you know, it went from a bunch of lone wolves out there to agencies that popped up, and that was their specialty. And, you know, fast forward to 1936, and a group of them all got together, and they formed the the National Association of Allied Finance Adjusters, NAAFA. Okay, and that became a manual that they created that had everybody's phone numbers in there. Before that, it was in the phone books locally. That was pretty much it. Word of mouth. This banker would call that banker because his car is over in that city, and he would give the name of another guy. And they eventually, the agents got together and created their own association. And that book gave them guaranteed territories. Nobody else could advertise in it. And that was the only form of marketing out there other than go beating on a door delivering donuts. And so they gave these guys a gold mine. Not to mention they all get to collaborate on what appropriate fees would look like, etc. And, you know, that maintained, that was very, very popular until somebody wasn't happy and they split. In 1951, the AFA and the NAAFA split into the AFA and the NFA. And again, more people are dissatisfied because they want to get in the book. So what do? They open another association, and you end up with the Time Finance Adjusters out of Fort Worth, Texas. And that was 1952, just after the NFA. And so, was that good enough? No. Fast forward to 1962, American Collectors Association. They wanted to create their own program in book, and they created the ARA, and that carried on until 1966 when Harvey Altez took over the TFA. In the 1978, the ACA had lost interest in the ARA, and they literally gave it to Kevin McGivern and Hugh May-Rome, and that's where it became right now. And all that was doing great and everything for several years until 1981.
Right. I saw this in your book.
One loan agency owner complained because he couldn't get into any of the associations. And so his lawyer goes to the Department of Justice. And in January of 1981, those big four associations all got sued by the Department of Justice for price fixing. And that was the end of that.
Whoa.
And so that kind of led us to a situation that we're at now where, you know, the agencies, the associations, they're not allowed to fix prices. They are not allowed to say, we're only going to advertise this company in this book or that book. And so, you know, time goes by, things change, and, you know, by the mid-90s, the internet had taken off. And so the value of that book diminished dramatically as soon as people could plug into the internet and access other sources of information. And to the point where membership started eroding, forwarding started taking off. And by 2013, the NFA had merged with the ARA. 2015, Harvey Altez passed away. And then 3 years later, the TFA merged with the ARA. And that leaves us with the last three. Because the last of those was formed in 2010 by Ron Brown, Noah Lane, and Rusty Ansel in a hotel room in Florida. And they formed the Eagle Group 20. And that's kind of what we have left now, the big three. And luckily, they're all very, very worthy. And one of the interesting things I will point out while I have a couple of minutes left to bring it up, during the heyday of the associations, the major players would be in multiple associations. They'd be in multiple books. And so they had power amongst all the associations. As competitive as they were, they still collaborated back channel through the different associations and votes and who got elected and et cetera. Harvey Altez was the greatest manipulator of all. Great marketer, but he really had a stranglehold on the TFA and all their other memberships, to the point he could go into a meeting for another association. He would leave early because he knew what the vote was going to be. And he had that much control over the industry for quite a long time. That's why they call him the Godfather. Impressive guy.
And now, okay, so say that again. So the Godfather is Harvey Altez?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at your book, and as I got in the last section, I'm seeing a lot of names that I recognize, Altez being one of them, because I've heard of Patrick Altez, right? So
Yeah.
we're into recent legacy.
Yep.
And even some of the companies, I mean, Ryan Miller's in there, Asset Resolutions is in there, Sums is my guest next Tuesday night. I found you really found a way to put your arms around this industry.
Well, that was, one of the interesting things about it is that, again, when I worked in the repo industry, the second agency I went to work with was Bud Crone, and he worked with the National Auto Recovery Bureau, longtime NFA members. Bud started way back in the early 50s, okay? And the company he'd been with had established back in the 40s. And so everybody was kind of connected to everybody. Bud was friends with this guy and that guy, and everybody knew everybody. This is a really small world, really is. And so the Sums are a great example. I mean, they go so far back. I mean, they've got phone books from the 1920s that have their company listed in there. Greenwood, Buzz Greenwood, Greenwood Recovery. They've been around forever. Home Recovery, they've been around since, sometime in the 20s. And they go way, way back. And these are multi-generational. Can't forget the Dunleavys. They're a great family and a great tradition. I've seen Patrick brought them back up after they sold out, which is awesome. And again, it's one of the reasons I called it Repo Blood. It's the easy thing to figure it's all salacious because of the broken glass book
Right,
cover.
I figured that out.
And that wasn't my
It's
first
a
choice
legacy.
of book cover. The publisher wouldn't let me go with the one I wanted because they wanted all these fresh permissions because some of the material inside the book had permissions for use in the book, but use it for the cover required additional. And I got in massive arguments with them. I said, fine, I'll give you a generic broken glass. And so I created it for that reason. But again, the blood isn't about the violence. The blood is about the generations of people that have been in it and about what their lives are like, how they got into it, things like that. And again, it's really, I mean, this is an industry I actually only spent 7 years in. 2 companies, 7 years, a couple of years managing one. And I made a lot of friends I've had that I've worked with back in the day, and friends I've made since I started CU Collector. And these are some of my best friends in my life. And I'm proud to call them my friends. And again, this book came about because we hit the pandemic and everybody got the brakes put on the repo business. And, Corey Cox had come forward and said, hey, you should write a book about it. And I was between drafts on another project. I said, yeah, let me see what I can do. And I remember I think I talked to Ron Brown. And Ron goes, you need to talk to Millard. And so I talked to Millard Land. And Millard's now retired, but again, another legend of the industry. And Millard filled me in on a lot of details, which led me into other rabbit holes. And, I digress from there, but that's kind of how it came to be.
But for being the journalist on the scene, see, that's another thing is that many ideas get shared and proposed, but to do the work, well, that's awesome, Kevin. I mean, really, it's really, really neat that you wrote this book. Good job.
Well, thank you.
So let's do this. Let's go ahead and bring in our guests. Here, I'm going to go to camera 1. I'm just going to start inviting. I'm going to mute that channel. Gentlemen, please get ready. And please help me wish a warm welcome to. We got Vaughn and George and Ron all joining now. I'm going to hand it back to Kevin to introduce them and talk and lead the way. So as we continue, thanks for joining us. We're only halfway through, if that, here tonight on Repossession Association's History of Education and Advocacy. While our guests start joining, Kevin, I'm going to hand it back to you. Who's joining tonight?
Well, we're going to start with Ron Brown. Ron, the founder of the Eagle Group 20. Ron is a very, very interesting man. I shared with you a photo of an ID that we can present when we bring him on camera. Ron, when he was a civilian service for the military in his younger days, had a very interesting ID that allowed him to steal cars and carry any kind of gun he wanted. He's got a great story in the book about it. But again, Ron's one of my favorite guys. Truth be told, Ron, Vaughn, and George are 3 of my favorite men in the industry. Love these guys. Great leaders, all 3 associations. And again, we start talking about what's in it for an association. I think really it's kind of become a matter of, again, now that we're down to 3 of them, it's a matter of preference. And I think there's room for all 3. And I think we'll get to that in a few here. But again, we'll have Ron Brown coming forward in a minute. And then we have Vaughn Clemmons, the newest of the presidents of the associations. And at the ARA, Vaughn is dynamic. He's done some outstanding things. He can be confrontational, which is a good thing. Because again, this is an industry of A-type personalities. And a lot of pushing back needs to get done. And he makes a great leader for that. And another guy that pushed back in a Herculean form is George Badeen of the Allied Finance Adjusters, AFA. George has had a 14-year lawsuit pending against PAR North America, one of the largest forwarders in the nation. And he's won multiple battles, but they keep fighting the attrition of it. It's been very challenging. And a lot of this stems back from them operating without a license in the state of Michigan. And he was awarded something in the matter of $1,000 a repossession, regular repossession done without a license, and it comes into tens of millions of dollars. So you can see why they spend such a huge amount of money fighting. But anyhow, Ron?
Yes.
Good to see you.
I hear you.
Good to see you. Hey, the Eagle Group 20, I know what they're about. Is there anything you could tell to our audience of what makes the Eagle Group 20 different than the other associations?
Well, Eagle Group 20 is not a national trade association. We're a 20 group. 20 groups started in the automobile industry, and it's 20 people in the same business but in non-competing markets. So therefore, they share ideas, they share best ideas, they share promotions, they share information. And that was kind of the concept that we started with. However, our clientele base grew and grew. And obviously, 20 people can't cover the entire United States. So we formed the Eagle Group USA Referral Network. Clients will contact us either by email or telephone or whatever. And, hey, we need an assignment work so-and-so wherever. We furnish every member with a training manual, all types of modules, situational awareness, confrontation avoidance techniques, field agent compliance training. All these manuals are put together, provided to the industry, and a lot of them we actually provide to the entire industry. Eagle Group 20 is all about education, safety, compliance. We work real close. John McNamara with CFPB is a very, very old close friend of mine, so I work close with him. We review the ideas with him. But again, we're different in as much as we're not a national trade association. Our motto is one for all for one. And we have a national communication network that is active constantly. And someone will say, hey, has anyone ever heard of so-and-so? Instantly, we'll see answers coming in. Yes, they're a good company, do business with them. Or no, they're not a good company, don't use them. Or little things. So we had someone a while back that stated that they kept blowing hoses, hydraulic hoses. What could they do? It was in the wintertime. And one of our members from Montana said, switch out your fluid and use so-and-so. They answered back very quickly, hey, that's working great. Thank you so much. It's all about helping the other people succeed. The idea of a 20 group is 19 people dedicated to the success of the one person, and the one person dedicated to the success of the other 19 people. That's what Eagle Group's all about.
And the credo, anything, anytime, any place. I've heard stories on that one, and again, I think it's a very noble credo. But again, you guys do it in practice. Do you have any stories you'd like to share with them?
Oh yeah, a personal story. I had just done a conference up in Oregon, and I was headed back to Oklahoma City on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock in Idaho, in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and I blew a water pump. Luckily, I was near a rest stop. I pulled over. I called OnStar, and after listening to elevator music for 30 minutes, they came back and said they can have a tow truck there at 11:30 that night. Where did I want to go? It's 4:30 in the afternoon, 11:30 at night. I'm in the middle. I don't know where I want to go. I said, thank you very much, hung up. I called the Eagle Group member in Idaho Falls, Jason Eaton. Now, keep in mind, this is Sunday afternoon. Jason answered the phone. We all have each other's cell phone numbers. Told me he would send a tow truck down to get me, but I told him no. I had to be in Oklahoma City. I was on a committee out at the state capitol. I had to be back by Tuesday for that meeting. I said, do you have Rich Whitaker's number, which is our member in Salt Lake City? He said, yes. I called Rich. I told him what my situation was. He said, give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, he called me back. He said, I have a tow truck headed your way. Now, understand, it'll take him about 2.5 hours to get there. I understood. 7:30 was much better than, 11:30.
Yep.
He said, let me see what I can do for you. He called me back 10 minutes later, said I talked to the GM dealer in Salt Lake City, and he says, your car's under warranty, your truck's under warranty. He can't fix it, but he gave me the home number of the Chevrolet dealer in Provo. And he said, let me call him, see what we can do. He called me back and said, he can fix it for you under warranty, but it's going to be about 2 weeks before he can get to it. Give me another 10 minutes. So he called me back in 10 minutes. I said, I got you all set. He said, you're going to be in Salt Lake City. I got you a motel room. Big Old Tire Company will fix your vehicle under warranty, and we'll have you on the way. Monday, he brought me a truck to drive around town while I was waiting on my truck. He hauled my truck to the shop to get it fixed. By 2 o'clock, I was on the road back to Oklahoma City. One for all for one. That's one example. A client called me a while back, a banker here in Oklahoma City, and he stated that his wife was at the hospital in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that someone had stolen her purse. Her father was dying. She went out to see him. She went to the hospital. Someone stole her purse. She had no money. She had no ID. She had nothing. Is there any way I could get her $600? And I thought at first, well, why doesn't he just wire the money? He's a banker. But then I realized she didn't have any ID. Because she didn't have ID, no one would release money to her. I called our member in Salt Lake City. Again, this is, late in the afternoon. Peggy Chapman. Peggy handled it immediately, went to the hospital, picked the woman up, gave her money, took care of her. The banker said that when I handed him a coin, we all carry a coin, what you mentioned. That's the coin. One side, it says a big person knows the value of a small coin. The other end, anything, anytime, any place. The other side, the Mathesius Dynamis through knowledge power. That coin has the 800 number on it. And anyone we give the coin to, it's very important. All they got to do is call that 800 number and anything, anytime, any place, professionally. If you carry the coin, and I think you carry one, don't you?
Nope. Never got
You don't
one.
have one of the. I'll have to get you one then.
All right. Yeah, mail it to me. Anyways, Ron, again, Peggy, she's awesome. I mean, that story, I think I heard that one before. And again, in order to join Eagle Group 20, what prerequisites are there?
You should be a member of a national trade association.
So in other words, ARA.
Yeah, someone asked me a while back if we vetted our members. I don't have to vet them. ARA vets their people very closely. AFA vets their people. So if they're a member of those associations, they're already vetted. Now, our Eagle Group 20 members, I personally vet. The Eagle Group 20 is one unit. The USA Referral Network is another unit. I know ARA and AFA accepts our vetting. And so if they're a member of Eagle Group 20 and they want into AFA or ARA, usually they accept our documents and all of our paperwork. But we're very selective in who we let in. We background them. When I refer a client to them, well, this will be our 15th year. And in 15 years, I've had one complaint. Only one complaint. One of our members lost a key or allegedly lost a key. We don't have a grievance committee. I told the client, which was a credit union, give me 10 minutes. In 5 minutes, they called me back and said, hey, the people just called and said they'll pay for the key. How did you do that? One call. I mean, we look out after each other.
That's a great deal of value to the Eagle Group 20. There's no question about that. Anyhow, I think I'm going to jump over to bring up the oldest association. One of my favorite men, Opie versus Godzilla, George Badeen. I say that because, again, George is an individual, has for many years taken on PAR North America in the forwarding industry in the courtrooms, and successfully. However, and again, as I'd mentioned, there's a war of attrition on the whole thing. But at the same time, George, the repo industry has changed a lot since you first joined it, since I ever even heard of it. But at the same time, what is the new value that the AFA brings to its members?
Well, it really hasn't changed over the years. I mean, we've been around since 1936, as you mentioned earlier. And of course, as time went on, we had the trade wars, as you mentioned in your book. And today we have become repo men can adapt very quickly to just about anything. And we've done the same. I think we've adapted to the new environment today, but we still produce a book. We're probably the only one that still produces a book. We have our online stuff. We have a full-time lawyer for our people to contact if they need help with contracts and stuff. So we've kept up. We have a big internet presence like everyone, the usual Facebook and so on, where we can communicate internally with each other. We put on 2 conferences a year. We produce the Professional Repossessor magazine, which you have a lot of articles in it. It's a trade magazine that goes out to about 1,000 repossessors around the country. And we're having our next conference coming up October 27, 28, 29 in Las Vegas. Hope you come back out. We'd like to see you there, Kevin.
I don't know if my liver can handle another trip to Vegas, but
so we do a lot of camaraderie things like the Eagle Group as well, where we try to merge together. And most of our training we do is hands-on. So this year we'll be doing hands-on locksmithing. We've got several people coming out to teach locksmithing, and you'll learn how to actually pick the cars, with Leashy, and then they'll learn programming to reprogram the fobs, which is, again, part of the environmental change of today's world. We've been doing a lot of studies and research on towing of electric vehicles. We've had the Energy Commission people out to our conferences last years to explain storage problems with electric vehicles, particularly ones that have had any form of damage. And just a learning process that, it helps our members operate. We also provide every member a $1 million client protection fund so that they don't run off and abscond with the car or something. And, the usual kinds of things that most everybody does. I think it's a great association. I've been in a long time, and I was an ARA member for a long time.
That's what I was going to say. There was a time, again, it goes back to that cross-pollination you talked about earlier, where agency owners be members, different ones. And again, you'll find people who've been in different groups that, will switch associations. And it's not, all bad blood. So, I mean, it's really, and again, through the history of the AFA, I mean, in its ranks have been, Les McCook, he was in the AFA once. He's a board member, I thought, as I remember correctly. Said Les is a longtime fixture of the ARA. And so, I mean, it goes back and forth. It's, there was a lot of acrimony for many years between the associations. And I'm really glad to hear you guys tied up a lot of that. And on that, I want to jump over to talk to Vaughn real quick. Vaughn is the current president of the American Recovery Association. And I always enjoy talking to you regarding what is going on. You always keep me abreast on a lot of things. And a lot of things I find out just like everybody else. Because again, there's need to know, nice to know, and I don't necessarily need to know everything we're sharing. But at the same time, you, since taking over the reins of the ARA, you've been very direct with a lot of the vendors, a lot of the forwarders, on a number of issues. As far as, how you see the role of the ARA in its current form compared to what it was, say, I mean, you and me started back in the repo business back in like 1990, 89. I don't remember what year. You went way back like me. As an agent, worked your way up. And, the industry's changed so much since then. And as far as the ARA goes, I mean, I can see, and we see a lot of broadcasts, a lot of emails on things that are going on. What do you feel that major value that the ARA brings to the industry?
Thank you, Kevin, and Ron and George. Thank you both for sharing this platform with me. I'll say this to you. I believe I can't speak solely for the ARA. I can say for Vaughn Clemmons, I represent the future. I don't try to claim to know all the history behind the three associations and the conflicts of the past. What I do know is to move forward, we have to set some type of game plan between the three guys on this call that we are going to try to reclaim this industry and unite around some sense of where do we align. I can't remain beholden to the past. I have to look ahead. So as far as ARA, it's not me. It's not an individual deal. I think too long in our industry, we've all sat in our individual silos, afraid to reach across the aisle, afraid to talk to one another. And that's really how you get in this business. And I think George and I, when we met in Colorado, we had the same conversation. The problem with our business or our industry is we're all siloed, we're fragmented. And I think the ARA, along with the entire board and the folks, the membership that is a part of this, of our membership, they all look to how can we assist. It's a hands-on deal that we have right now, and I think it's working.
Well, I think you segue into a perfect topic for us to just jump right into. And again, you're meeting in Colorado. George, Vaughn, Ron, you weren't there?
Anyway. I wasn't invited.
That's right. You're not an association. Forgot about that.
We're not a trade association.
That's
but,
right.
We're right there with them.
Vaughn, George, what can we expect different between the ARA and the AFA on the go forward as a result of this this meeting? How is this going to apply to the future?
Well, we can certainly, you're going to collaborate on a lot of different things and ideas and some of the problems in our industry, and we plan on working together on them, and we want to get things better for our memberships. We have the same ideologies there. How we get there may be different. I'm from Detroit, and I worked at the UAW for years, just like everybody here in the city. You start out and you work in the factory. I worked at Ford, but we'll figure a way to get our members more money in the future. What do you think, Vaughn?
I agree with you, George. I think really this sets the tone. We're on this call together. We flew to Colorado on our own dime, along with our vice presidents, and had a conversation, and it was difficult at times. I don't know George, he doesn't know me. There's a trust issue there that we're going to have to learn to move forward with. And as I told George, we can have disagreements. Clearly, we're going to continue to have them. But the goal for us is to have our disagreements behind closed doors and always show a unified front. We have more in common than we disagree on. And that's how we're going to move forward. We're going to move past our differences, and we're going to, I can't think of another word other than fight. We have to fight the challenges together, because with a united front, we show a clearly different picture than we have in the past. And I believe clients, forwarders, take advantage of that fragmentation. And that's what George and I and Ron are going to try to unite together around the common goals.
No, you totally nailed that. Because again, it's the division that has created the situation the industry's in. Okay. And again, for granted, no, you cannot go forward because of the DOJ ruling of 1981 and say, thou shalt only charge this fee. You can't do that openly, but you can look at the terms of a contract and go, that's not fair.
Kevin, can I jump in? Because
sure.
I hear that, and I think when I hear that, where they're winning here is they say things like, you guys are colluding whenever we talk. No, this is collaboration. We're not colluding. We're not trying to price fix. One could say, are the forwarders and clients price fixing when they set fees that go across the entire country? So I think we have to talk. And what we want to do is set standards. Here's a standard. We're not going to accept this any longer. And if we unite around that, I guarantee you things will change.
Well, again, I think this is something that, I think you and I had spoken about before, how once upon a time, RISC, it was kind of an outlier in compliance. And now every liability, every repossession lawyer out there will question somebody in deposition and ask, are you RISC compliant? Of course, they look at, the EAGLE and the ARA compliance modules as well. But at the same time, the RISC has become kind of the standard. And thinking of it in terms like that, if the ARA, the AFA, and the Eagles all come forward and say, this is the standard for this process, this is the standard for how you should handle this situation, I think it could become that similar manner. Now, does that change anything in anybody's pocket? Probably not. At the same time, it's about writing your own rules so nobody writes them for you. And I think it's a very powerful message. And again, that's not for me. I think it was either George or Vaughn, one of the two, you shared that with me before. I'm going to bring up one that might be a little uncomfortable for people to talk about, but everybody thinks it. We're going to talk about LPR, DRN, their contract. Okay, they have a 1-year non-compete that everybody's stuck with if they want to try to switch out. And again, it's they went after Relentless in Ohio pretty viciously, and it was kind of like setting a message for everybody else. Is there anything the associations can do to help the rest of the industry with this?
Yes, I agree, and I think it's been an elephant in our midst for far too long. I am friends and I like everyone in the space. The problem is this has nothing to do with friendship. There's an issue here contractually. You mentioned antitrust. We have to ask the questions. The ARA, we have a committee, and we just formed this committee. We're looking at not to go after, but to go towards a platform we can at least discuss what's the end game? Why isn't there transparency at that contract level? How can we get out if we choose to? And I believe it's unfair, if I was going to put it mildly. And I believe that, once again, us coming together and speaking to these, we have to talk it out. That's the start. Let's sit down with Jeremiah. Let's sit down with the LP, the Insight, and find a pathway forward. Not going backwards, but this contract is, in my opinion, something we need to look at. I don't want to call it so much unfair because we signed it. And a lot of the problems that we face in this industry is things that we sign. However, a lot of folks get into this business without an attorney to look over a contract, and we're signing it. And then we find out we've made a deal with the devil, not calling anyone a devil, but just we made a deal that could end up hurting us when we decide to move on. So I think just transparency around the contract is the start.
Yeah, again, the transparency is one thing. And again, looking at the legal temperature of the country when it comes to non-comp agreements in employment, those things are being squashed all over the place. And again, when you're looking at an industry where you have two choices, that one of those choices would be allowed to stop you from being able to use the other choice for a whole year, especially when it, is a large portion of income is derived from it. I don't know how that could not be perceived as an antitrust issue by the Department of Justice, but that's my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer. George, you got something you want to say on that?
Well, yeah, that's one reason we have Michelle Morris, who's our lawyer there, and she reviews contracts. And before you sign them, we recommend our members send them to her to review. She sends them back with her thoughts and ideas. At least you know what you're getting into. A lot of our members will take her and say, well, you're right, I guess I shouldn't do this, and write back to them and explain why you can't do it. And if they really want you, then they'll do it. But they're very much fixing things, and they're trying to manipulate and control the market. And I think someone's got to tell them to stop. And I think the only way to tell them is with one voice to stop, or we will stop.
Well, they've recently acquired Secured Collateral Management, which is a forwarding company. Yeah. And that's a strange business alignment. Does that concern any of you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it gives them more control over the market. It probably even puts more pressure on the actual people with the cameras, because too much control over, the accounts, I guess. But, too big to fail, whatever you want to say. They're very big now.
Well, there's been a lot of accusation through the years of manipulation of scans and who gets the actual assignment. A lot of hot list scans. Somebody picks it up, drives by, they ask for permission, they don't get it. And, a week later, they're driving by a competitor's office or picking up a unit for a client, and their LPR camera happens to be on, and boom, it's right there in the guy's lot. And so, that's kind of the danger point I see of this. Because again, there's no separation of duties to the point where it's a conflict of interest for them to be making those judgment calls when those judgment calls go decide who the winners and losers are.
Yeah,
the role. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, the perception becomes reality when you see things with your own eyes that don't really add up, and so not a lot of trust sometimes,
It has a lot to do, George, with transparency. I believe we just don't know, and that's where the conversations are going to have to come from with us sitting down with these guys from DRN and Insight and try to have a path forward for the benefit of our membership, because our members are the ones that are signing these contracts. Our members are the one that's being harmed really, we have no power. I think we talked about that, George, in Colorado. We have no power here.
Right.
And we have to figure out a way to shift this back to the power it was back in the 1970s and 80s.
Well, the biggest tragedy of it is that LPR, it was originally tested out in London back in the 1970s and used for car theft prevention and things like that. And it really didn't take off. It wasn't until it was brought, I can't remember the exact year, but it was introduced through the ARA, a number of ARA members, and Houston, I think it was, might have been Dallas, and they were showing a demonstration out in the streets of it, and they signed on. And then they went out and they bought a dozen cameras each, and it just took off from there. So, really, LPR in America started in the repossession industry. And it's just kind of sad that it's taken such a back seat and has been so manipulated. Law enforcement use it. We hear some great stories about that. It's used in commercial bases and parking, in bridge tolls. It's used for a lot of very positive things. But where it started at, as everybody stuck. And it's been that way, ever since the merger of MB Track and DRN. But then again, it always goes back to that contract. And so, it's kind of an unfortunate predicament. But anyhow, I'm going to ask two more questions. One of them is going to be unrelated to anything else here, because I know we're running out of time. But one of the questions I have, and this is going to go for, why should anybody join an association?
I'll take that. I'll take that if
sure.
Let the other guys jump in. I think that's been a problem for the longest. Back in the days when the books were prevalent, the reason was you got business. And then when the bond ended years ago, I think there so went the associations. And now the associations have a duty to show its membership what's the value. And in this current state, I really believe the value for our membership, for all of us, are for us to have some type of unity without losing our individualism. We have got to unite around a thought, which is, here's the value. We advocate for you. That's one. Two, we provide training. Ron Brown has an excellent training curriculum. The goal for us is to look at where our strengths lie, direct members to those strengths, and where our weaknesses are, direct members to the other association that's a little bit more better suited to handle that. We have the purpose of all of us together is to advocate for our membership. I think we failed in that area. I think that's why you have the forwarding models, the LPR companies, and anyone else that comes into this space. Our ecosystem has us at the bottom of the boot. And everything starts with the repossessor, everything. There's no revenue generated until the repossessor secures a vehicle. And until we collaborate around, if Ron, George, and myself can't unite around a thought, how can we expect anyone that's repossessing a car to unite around the idea that we must come together? So the biggest thing we could do is, in my opinion, is to advocate for the betterment of our businesses, hands down.
Kevin, I completely agree with Vaughn there. I relate to people all the time, and they talk about, you're a member of the Eagle Group. Why do we need to be a member of the National Trade Association? And I tell them, again, we're not a trade association. The trade association offers things that we don't offer. We offer education, we offer camaraderie, we offer networking and things like that. But we all share common goals, and I relate it to the United States of America. You know, we're the United States. The states don't see things the same way. Wisconsin recently passed a ruling that you cannot tailgate someone into a garage. Minnesota, the neighboring state, has a case that says it's legal to do it. There's two states right next to each other. They have opposing views, but we are still the United States of America, and we have common goals. And you mess with one of us, and you're messing with all of us. You don't mess with the eagle until you know where its talons are. And that's what this industry has got to come together and do. ARA, AFA, Eagle Group, if we stand steadfast on certain issues, the forwarders have given away things that weren't those to give away. That didn't belong to them. Storage, you know.
That's a whole other show in itself. Yeah, yeah.
That's a big show too. Well, you know, I think the best reason to join the trade association is what do you get when you have to decide on joining one or the other? You look at what can I provide to you? You know, like I said, it's member services such as legal department, and we do provide something similar to a bond. It's called a client protection fund. The other groups, when Texas said no, you can't do that anymore, no more groups. Insurance policies, you know, we went out and sought one that would do an individual basis paid through by the associations for the most part, except for the states that wouldn't allow that. So, I mean, there's workarounds, and we worked hard on that. Our training, we use Eagle Group 20's training primarily. It's online. It's offered to everyone out there. Our magazine, it's good to have information. Plus, you have the marketing section we have in our member-only area where you get access to a lot of clients. There's a lot of benefits to being in an association, particularly when you're starting out. Credibility is always well. Having the website is always good to have. Of course, people have their own websites, but a nationally recognized one is also very good. Either ARA or Audi. It helps a lot. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to join a trade association, you know, for you know, it's less than, what, $200 a month, less than that. So, you know, I think it's a pretty good deal for all you can get. So, that's a good reason to join.
Well, and again, when I look at the repossession industry from the outside in, and having been on the inside as well, you tend to notice that you can tell the difference between an association member and a non-association member. They run their businesses differently. There's a different degree of professionalism. And, you know, the problem is, since the lenders have entered the mix, the lenders don't engage directly with those agencies. So they don't know the difference frequently. And so basically they're paying for an inferior product is what my opinion is. And again, when they go to the point where they're accepting 25% recovery rate is good, reasonable, they're off their rockers. It's like they have no idea what it used to be like. 50% would have been a low recovery rate back in the day on the direct assignment model. But the problem is when you take you take away all the incentive to really work the account to its conclusion, your recovery rate suffers. And that's what the forwarding model is mostly done to that. I have one more question, because again, I know we're bumping up against the clock. And this one's going to be unrelated to the repossession industry. Well, actually, no, it does relate to the industry, but it's political. I know not everyone likes political things, but Harris or Trump, who would be better for the repossession industry?
Trump.
Why?
Because he's a businessman. He understands business. And this is a business, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. This is a business. And if we're going to be in it, we better learn how to do business with businessmen.
Well, I would agree with that reasoning. But at the same time, if you're looking, again, for an industry that thrives when the economy is bad, that's probably, in my opinion, not the right choice. Well, because again,
I'll stop you there, because Bidenomics works for the repo industry. We love Bidenomics, okay?
Exactly.
We're towing cars in record numbers. We have no room in our lots for the cars. We don't have transporters enough to move all the cars on our lots. So Bidenomics works for us. However, and this is a big but, as we like to say, originations have slowed and stalled the last 6 months. They're even getting slower now. So there's less
more so in
paper at
subprime.
the end of the rainbow. So eventually we're going to see a slowdown that we're not going to like. During the Trump era, it was steady Freddy. We made money. Everyone was happy. No problem. Then all of a sudden, the last, I'll say, year and a half, business has just gone up, 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 up. The economy's hurting. We're the only ones that can go afford eggs at the grocery store, and that's fine. Okay? So it works for us. Like I said, it works for us. But I think Trump would have to be the choice, or, because we only have the two to choose from. I'd rather have steady Freddy than make money all along and know my margins and where they stand.
How about you, Vaughn? What are your thoughts on that? You want to have pain?
Kevin, I tell you, you're dealing with the devil in either one of them. I don't think anybody works for my business. A politician is going to be a politician no matter how you cut it. I will say this to you: our industry is set to have about 9.2 million assignments hit this space. 9.2. We're only going to pick up, and this is projected, about 2.6. Okay. Last year, we had about 4.45 million assignments hit this space. We're not picking up more cars. We're getting more garbage thrown at us without metal. So here's the deal. When we sit around and have conversations like this, at the end of the day, we have to have a solution. Is Trump or Harris a solution for us? I beg to differ, neither one of them are. Here's the solution. We've got to come together in our small circles before we branch out into bigger. I'm telling you, I've been in the business for 40 years. I fear where we're headed unless we do something different. And all we're doing right now, and I mean, this is good, talk is good, but without a solution, it's just empty talk. We've got to figure out a way between these three gentlemen on this call, myself, George, and Ron, to figure out a way to do something different. Here's something different. What if we went back to the days when the banks relied on the associations for anyone recovering a vehicle to enter this space? Here's why we have problems. We have problems because and I'm not disparaging anybody that's repossessing a vehicle, but we're having problems where people are losing their lives because they don't have adequate training. Not in all cases, some just are in a bad situation. We have situations where people are coming in and dropping the price. We have situations where you got companies like Copart doing our business, okay? So our competition is competing with us without the same overhead as us. Can you say unfair competition? Those are the things we need to talk about. We have so much we have to do, but we can't do it in silos. I told George this in Colorado. When I got into the business, I was repossessing cars in a car. I had a car and a partner, and we had tools. And all you guys, Ron, you guys know how we had to take a car back.
Yeah.
We had to go out and physically take the car.
Yeah.
Okay. And we came into this business in a silo. When I started my first business at 25, I went to a bank, gave my packet, and they gave me business. Find anyone that comes into this space today that can get business from a direct client entering the space. They have to go to a forwarder, and a forwarder introduces them to the life of the silo. We've got to break this deal. No one else is going to do it unless we come together and start pushing some buttons to change the narrative. It's going to continue. So George and I even talked about what if we freaking started a union? Now listen, I know most on this call don't want to do a union, but we have to start talking to get things done. Talking creates, maybe that's a good idea. Ron and I differ in a lot of areas, but I guarantee you we agree on more than we disagree. What's our goal? We want our agents to come back home safely. We want to make sure our businesses are profitable, and we want to get away from the 40-year, $350 repo fee. This is insane. So one of the things we got to do is start preaching to our own choirs. We have to preach to the Allied membership, to the Eagle Group 20 membership, and vice versa, because there's something I'm saying that's not catching, and it's something Ron is saying that will catch. But when we stay in our own silos, we're letting the people that control our industry control our industry. So I mean, hey, I could talk about this for life, guys. Okay, but
no, I totally agree with you. And again, into the whole political thing, I was somewhat tongue in cheek because again, the rationale being in a bad economy, there's a lot of repossessions. But again, excellent point in the fact that lending is down. Okay, interest rates are up, and underwriting is tighter, and that does not mean you're going to get more repossessions. At some point, it all dries up. Okay, and that hurts everybody. That's not good for anybody. A balanced industry is the only way. But part of that balance means that the repossession industry survives. Not a repossession industry, the professional repossession industry. Okay, one that writes its own rules, one where the barrier of entry is not so low. Because it's one of the problems we see across the country. You have this patchwork of different laws and rules and requirements to repossess the vehicle. The point where you have people who can do it with nothing more than a simple sling boom and a Slim Jim, okay, and very, very little insurance. And they slide into a repo network through a forwarder, and next thing you know, they're doing fine. Why? Because they don't have to pay for the same overhead as everybody else. And that meanwhile, that lender is getting an inferior service, and the forwarder and the lender, they're keeping their prices down because of people like that. And it's a mess. And again, I've written about it ad nauseum in my book and for years on the website. But no, $350 a repo.
You just said something about standards. And one of the things, and I know that George and Ron agree with me, we don't want the government to set anything for us. Our goal is we have to set some standards. And then the government will look at us and go, oh, they got that under control. Right now, we're all over the place. Anybody can come in. I think we need to look at the Bar Association and mirror our association behind them and let us be, whether it's, and I call this the triangle. Ron, you weren't in our meeting in Colorado, but George and I spoke about a triangle where the entry into this space comes through one of three ways. You have to be a member of the Eagle Group 20, you have to be a member of ARA or AFA. And we set the standards. This will control our space. This is what's needed. But to make that work, Ron, you, George, and I, we've got to collaborate. We have to sell this to the folks that are in this business doing it the right way and prevent folks like, and I'm just going to throw Copart's name out there again, because they're in our space with less insurance requirements. They're using scabs, and I don't want to disparage anybody that's out there trying to make a dollar, but they don't pay what we pay. And we have to come together and find a solution to change this narrative.
You're absolutely right, Vaughn. And, something that we see there is that these people that are out there, if you follow the blog, some of the things that they say, it's obvious. You can tell they're not a member of an association. They're not a member of Eagle Group 20. And the things that they say that they're doing and this and that, as an expert witness, I bring up the fact all the time that in the repossession industry, if you look at the definition of a standard, we have no standards. Standards have to be set by the associations within the industry, but we have that power. The three of us together can set true standards within the industry, and then we've got that triangle. If you're not following the standards, then you're not going to be, you can't be used. The banks can't use you. But we have to, as a united group, AFA, ARA, Eagle Group, we can get together and we can set true standards, not practices. Right now we have recognized practices, but we don't have standards, but we have the power to make standards.
I agree. Well said, Ron.
Great point, Ron. It was a really great point. Wow. Anyhow, we're at the end of our time.
That's why this is ATI. I'm telling you, like Kevin, I appreciate some of your curveballs. Vaughn, the live chat's loving what you're saying. And George and Ron right there in the triangle. This is really pretty neat. I am going to make a couple video shorts after this, but I'll try to, I'm a professional too. That's the thing here. I think this is the hard part to explain, right? Is that we know that we need standards. We are professionals, but also the ability to speak what we think. Where has that gone? right? It seems to be gone. Drives me crazy. That's why I make this channel that takes these risks. But to make progress, it takes a little risk taking. So I applaud you. Thank you. We're live. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say in closing, anybody out there who's on the fence about joining an association, you need to do it. Okay, it's not that big of an investment. It really isn't, and there's so much more to be gained from it. Again, you're going to make a lot of friends. You're going to learn a lot of new things. And I know everyone out there seems to know what they're doing. They all know what they're doing until they don't, or until they find out there was an easier way to do it. And there's no better place that you're going to improve your business than through the camaraderie you're going to find with an association. And that includes the state associations. Okay, I know we haven't brought the state associations because the issue has been the national, but the state associations have an incredible value to it. And the majority of the state association members are members of national associations. So, there's nothing wrong with being a member of two. Eagle 20 members. Okay, they're members of the AFA and the ARA as well. Get engaged. Everybody out there needs to get engaged. Join an association. Get engaged. Learn something. Okay, this isn't about, how am I going to get more business out of this? That's a different issue. Okay, this is about improving your business and improving the industry as a whole. I hate to be hokey, but the old saying goes, a rising tide raises all boats. Okay, and so the more people together, to get together with an association, will only make things better for themselves.
That is a great saying. I do get tired of it because I hear it a lot, but there is truth, and I think that's the whole point. Is that it's just really neat to see this. Okay, so any next steps? Anything to share next? I'll go first. In November, at Used Car Week, Vaughn will be on stage with a presentation that I'm moderating, Lenders Moving Repo Cars, Old Habits Die Hard. Please do join us in the conference room on Tuesday in November. I believe it's November 19th. And if you can't be there, find out more about what we're doing and the movement we're trying to continue. Who's got another final thought?
I'll jump in and I'll let Ron and George close us out. I'll make a commitment tonight on this call that Ron and George and I should work on a framework to start talking with each other at least once a week as we devise a strategy to take our industry back. Okay, we're the old dogs in the room, guys. And so we know what it was back in the 70s and 80s when we were doing line item invoicing. It's gone. Right now we have our drivers making the same money I was making 40 years ago. We have our lot attendants. We're paying them for their for services we create no revenue on, and it's becoming expectant. We have work to do, and I think it starts with the leadership. Ron, I've only met you here recently, but you're nothing but, in my opinion, you've brought value to a space, and your history is great. But as we push this thing forward, we have to figure out a way to talk to each other. And I pledge to you that I will do everything in my power to put aside my issues, and I don't have many, but I'll put aside whatever I believe fervently on and take something from you to try to align in a way that we move forward. But George, you and I and Ron, let's make a commitment to talk to each other once a week at the least to make a platform we can present to the entire space of here's the pathway forward. I think that's the next step.
I'm 100% in. If we work together, united we stand.
Yes.
Divided we're falling, and we are falling.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Well, I'm in. You know that. We've been talking quite a bit, Vaughn, so we'll continue to do that and move forward. And we've all got open minds, I think.
Amen. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Amazing show. Great job tonight, everybody. Kevin, wonderful research and great co-hosting tonight. Thank you for doing that. Vaughn, George, Ron, thank you for your contribution and being here and making tonight's show. I think this is the highest ratings I've had all year. So thank you for that. Great job. There's a lot
Because
of
we're
interest.
also handsome.
And great looking. Great looking.
Speak for yourself, Ron.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot. All right, I'll put you all in the waiting room and I'll wrap up the show. Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot.
much.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. It is this is that wow, that's a hard plane to land. Wow. And thank you so much in the live chat, man. I really, it's so great. You know. So I was thinking a little bit about, context. I mean, what's the way to view this? I think most of all is you can see the passion in the live chat, and I so appreciate Kevin's curveballs at the end there, in that, this is the kind of stuff we're thinking. We need to be able to say it and still get along. That's the thing. We can have disagreement and still get along, and the transportation industry has so much in common with repossession. I know you can unload a 9-car hauler in flip-flops. I'm not saying you can't. But it seems strange, day after day, load after load, in front of the customers and everything. But again, if that's fine, if you're able to do it, that's fine. But it's like, we see like I'll get like an image, someone will email me an image of a wedge trailer, 3-car wedge trailer, and like the pickups totally not fit for even this 3-car load. It's sagging so low, that thing is gonna rip apart down the road. I mean, and that means there was no education. We all have to make a living, but my goodness. And I also appreciate, it's almost like we can't say anything negative about the competitor that's just destroying what we consider to be a professional way of doing business. So what an amazing show. Again, I want to thank everybody so much. And I want to thank Superflow Systems, ClearPath TMS, Auto Hauler Exchange, Murphy Auto Transport, and my guest tonight, and CU Repossession, and ARA, AFA, Eagle Group 20. And again, thanks everybody in the live chat. Thank you so much. And here's what's cool. We are going to continue the repossession history next Tuesday night. We have Skip is going to be live on the show. Kelsey and Mark, and they're going to talk about the family legacy. And so we're going to dive into one of the businesses within kind of what we're talking about tonight, and this is going to be great. They're based out of Virginia Beach. They've got, I think it's almost 100 years of history, and when you look at the number of auctions that they serve and how much business they've done, there's just so much to it. So we're going to be unpacking a lot of that next Tuesday night, so please do join us for that. Thank you all so much. I'm going to run the car hauler. I appreciate it. This was show 365 in a row. Please do make sure you leave a like. Talk about the show, share the link, let me know how I can help. I'm Jay at ATI Auto Business. My email is autotransportintel@gmail.com. My website is atiautobusiness.com. The home is on YouTube. Visit ATI Auto Business on YouTube. Leave a like for anything that you enjoy. And if you've got a question or a comment, please do comment below the video. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, LinkedIn. Good night. Here comes the car hauler. Appreciate you. Good night.